right, welcome back to the Wake Up Tucson show. 25 minutes after the hour. We do have from Tucson forward, we have Lee and Kathleen. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing?
Good morning. Great, thank you.
Let's get Lee on there.
Fine, thank you.
There you go. Sounding good. So, all right, ladies, let's start off with let's give you guys the heads up here. Why don't you guys start us off on what is the problem and what do you want?
Okay. Basically, we're a large nonpartisan group of Tucson residents, educators, small business, doctors, lawyers, retirees, students, etc. And we're concerned about the safety and health and economic well-being of all Tucsonans. And the problem, as we see it, is that the Air Force has recently completed environmental assessment of Davis Monthon's Operation Snowbird. Is currently on hold because it's got a lot of flaws and inadequacies.
So Snowbird is looking at what, the A-10, or is looking at F-35 or F-16? What is Snowbird looking at?
Okay, the Snowbird program
is training, right?
It is a program for training, and it was instituted many years ago, and it was to bring pilots from the northern climes when they were, snowed in down here so they could continue their training. These are experienced pilots already. They were not in training. It was maintenance kind of stuff so they could keep their skills up during the winter months. But that expanded, and without doing the required environmental assessments and studies and such, they kept expanding it over the years to the point where it's enormous now, and it's year-round. It used to be just in the winter.
And these are flying A-10s mainly?
No.
Or they're
Well, we have more A-10s than anything else still, but they did start bringing in more and more of the other fighters, the louder single-engine crafts. See, the A-10 is a double, so it is a double engine, so it's a lot safer.
F-16
so
is a single.
So the F-16 is the probably the loudest one that we have on a regular basis here. Yes,
they bring in Harriers, Tornados, and various fighter planes and train pilots from many places, not just the United States.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there are foreign pilots, and that is another risk there because a lot of times there's some problems between, or not a lot of times, but sometimes there's problems between the language issue with the tower versus the language, the native language of the pilot. It can cause some problems and has in the past.
So the economic impact of the base is about $1.6 billion.
That's an inflated number.
What is it really?
It's about more like 800 million.
Okay.
That number is including the retirees that are living here. They're not supposed to include that, but they do. They throw that in there, and it includes a lot of the indirect benefit or economic contribution. And indirect is like something you can get from just about anywhere. I mean, everybody who lives here gives all kinds of indirect contributions.
But isn't the direct is about 800 the indirect still wouldn't exist, or at the levels they are. Hold on, let me finish my question. It's the idea that you're talking about indirect benefit being that there's companies that support things on the base that make money off the base. Is that an indirect? What's your definition of indirect benefit?
Indirect. How many? Okay, hold on.
We can get lost in numbers, but you have on your statistics that U of A ranked number 3 nationally as physical and earth science, benefiting the entire region at $8.3 billion, and my stats have them at about $1.2 billion. So apples to apples, trying to compare how big of an impact this is to our region is a big part of our discussions, right? Like
when
tourism is another one.
When you're comparing people in economics, economists do not use indirect because there's no stats for that. It's just you have to sort of guess at it. And so they go by direct impact. And so when you're comparing different industries and their impact on an economy, you need to go with that, with the direct, not indirect. Okay. And that's the problem. Everybody else uses direct, and so when they tell you how much the tourism brings in and how much this or that or the other, you're getting direct. But then when Davis Monthon talks about theirs, they say they include all the indirects. It greatly inflates what, it almost doubles what they.
The tourism is probably double the economic benefit to Tucson as the base.
I think tourism at its height was probably about $2.2 billion is where it's at. I'm going to say it's probably about $1.5 billion now over the last few years. It's been taking a licking. When I look at average daily rates and occupancies in this town, it is not a pretty industry right now.
No, of course not. And when you start getting an F-35 over the Rio Nuevo you were just discussing, and all the money we've pumped into downtown and central Tucson, people are going to be in for some real shock.
Those 2 blocks of Congress are really going to be blown away by a plane.
So the F-35 has located up in Luke and down in Yuma, and there's a discussion whether it should locate here or not, right? And it'd be at the TIA, not the Davis Monthon. Is that still correct? That's what they're talking about.
It'll come through TIA. The thing is that it's common knowledge now. CBS 60 Minutes just had a big segment on it the other night that the plan for all of the military branches is to replace their F-16s with F-35s. So it's not whether it's going to Luke or whether it's going here. We have a lot of F-16s flying in and out and being trained at TIA. And TIA is now trying to get a second runway, as you probably have heard.
Right, Newark Tower. That's the airport, not the Davis Monthon. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, but they host a lot of military training over there, especially from the Netherlands. So those F-16s are going to be replaced by F-35s. And so they're trying to bring 72 F-35s to TIA. That's a lot of F-35s, and that's a lot of noise. They're 8 times louder than the A-10s, about 4 times louder than the F-16s.
Now, they've said that, and I've never heard one. I know Jonathan Rothschild's been on this show, sat right here and said, I need to go listen to one. Went to Houston. Apparently they weren't flying that day, and he never got a chance to hear him. So he's been kind of on the fence on this one. But they said that they will take off without afterburners, and they'll be as loud as the F-16, and then when they leave the market, they open it up. Is that the case? Has anybody heard one?
They can mitigate it. They can mitigate supposedly they can mitigate it to some degree with how they do the afterburner stuff and all that, but only to a degree. And only the most experienced pilots will be able to do that. So that is not going to be the case in
well, they're flying $1 billion plane, so let's hope they're all experienced. These things are.
Consider what you already have happening right now in Tucson, what's been going on for years and what's been multiplying, as Lee mentioned, beyond the parameters of environmental impact statements and studies. And so the people in central Tucson who actually experience the A-10s, the F-16s, the F-22s when they come through, what they experience is disturbing enough. If you don't live in central Tucson, this might be all abstract to you. But if you live under it all the time, and especially if you work at home and you're hearing it all day long, it's really a problem. And if you want to work outside or do things in the garden or have children playing outside, in certain neighborhoods, of course, on the south side are more disrupted than others, the Julia Keene neighborhood, for example. But so just take what we already have going on and start thinking about doubling it under the new plans for Operation Snowbird, adding night flights, which is what some of the Air Force is trying to do right now. There's pending an environmental impact statement to try to achieve those things. And then think about also quadrupling that sound, like or making it 8 times as loud if the F-35s come in.
So a buddy of mine was a base information officer for a number of years at Davis Monthon, and he would get a call. He was telling the story in one of my rotors about getting a call from a neighbor saying, look, it's too loud, can you make them not fly in the morning? And we got into this noise discussion. And he said, well, geez, when did you buy your home? She said, well, a couple years ago, I got a good deal on it. Do you know the base has been here since 1925? So that would be the other argument, that this base has been a part of this region for so long.
The base was a part of the region, but it was basically outside of the main city because the city wasn't that big at that point.
Right.
But they didn't do anything to keep that from happening. They didn't do anything to keep the city from encroaching, and of course cities do that. They grow. I mean, that's the way it is. So the problem is that they also then have been bringing in louder and riskier aircraft.
So did you buy your house thinking somehow the base... You guys, I assume, live somewhere near the base.
I lived under the DM flight path for 21 years in Feldman's Neighborhood Association.
You don't live now there?
Which is far, far older than the base. And the university, of course, is from the late 1800s.
But you bought your house there when? 21 years ago?
I bought it in 1991.
Do you live in the flight path now?
I actually moved over to the base of A Mountain by the Santa Cruz River.
Right.
And now I'm under the F-16s that fly in and out of TIA, and I hear those rumbling every morning. So sometimes I have 3 or 4 F-16s flying right over my house.
21 years ago. And how long ago did you buy your house on the flight line?
Well, I don't live under the flight path. I just don't think it's right to see other people that I do know being bullied by the Air Force, which is supposed to be protecting us.
People paid a certain amount of money for their house. And being under flight lines is considered usually not a bonus in your house, but it does control the value of the house. They paid a certain amount for the house at that time, knowing there's planes going over their house.
A lot of people didn't know.
No,
and the flights have increased so much over the last 20
years. You're
next
to an Air Force base. This is what happens. Were you expecting they were just going to go quiet and like die off and have Marceau mine school there?
Let me give you some detail on that. Let me give you some detail on that.
The base is encroaching on the city more and more.
Yes. Here's the problem. There are people who were living in a zone that was not considered to be a problem at all. They bought their homes. They didn't have all these horrible noises going over all the time. And they paid, a decent price for them. And then all of a sudden, one morning, they wake up and they find that their homes have suddenly been declared to be in zones that were incompatible with residential use. This was because the Air Force Base decided to bring in louder planes, and so the contour zones had to be increased. And they suddenly, without even letting these people know, suddenly these people's homes were devalued terribly to the point where who's going to buy a home that's considered to be in a zone incompatible with residential use?
Anyone who lives near an Air Force Base has got to. This things change all the time.
No, but not like that. You're supposed to have due process of law. You're supposed to let people know.
You're not
supposed to just
not
suddenly
move to Tucson? Is that what you're saying? People should not move to Central Tucson because that's near an Air Force Base. I'm talking about Central Tucson. I'm not talking about next to
Midtown.
Know what you're buying into.
I'm talking about next to the university.
What about
people did know what they were buying into.
People don't like living next to the university either because of rentals and all this other stuff. We've had that drag out for a while.
People did know what they were buying into, but they didn't know, and they couldn't know, and there was no way to know that the Air Force was going to increase the numbers and the loudness of the planes they brought in to the point where it started affecting their homes.
Well, let's do this.
After they had bought their homes.
We do have to pay bills.
Let's break up this. Now, we'll be right back after the break at 7:36 on the Wake Up Tucson show. We're here with the folks from Tucson Forward and talking about air and traffic and noise and Davis Monthon and the future and the economic impact of the Air Force Base and other things that go on in this region. 790-2040 is the number if you want to get in the discussion. Be right back after the break.
Wake up, Tucson. Call Chris and Joe now at 790-2040. Arizona is waking up to local talk that matters. Wake Up Tucson, mornings with Chris and Joe on AM 1030 KBOI, The Voice.
All right, 7:40 in the morning. We're on with Lee and Kathleen from Tucson Forward. Let's go to the phones real quick. I don't like people hanging on too long. Let's go to Kat on line 2. Kat, what's going on?
Oh, I think this last caller is just funny. If you move next to a cattle feeding lot, downwind, and then you want them to close, though you've got extremely low real estate prices, where is your head?
Location. Yeah, that's the debate. Yeah. Their argument is that the mission of the base has changed so much so that it's affecting. Now, I do know Pima County has made a substantial buy of land to the east of the base to do a bigger paddle and different runways to get it off into the desert.
Well, taxpayers have paid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
We pay for a lot here.
Right. F-16 is not a noisy airplane. For goodness sakes. And if you get cheap prices there, then enjoy the sound that goes with it and the protection. And if you want cheap prices, go clear out to Catalina and Oracle.
Well, the problem is that there are a lot of people, thousands of people that are affected by this. And if they bring in the F-35, there will be another 8,000 residences who were not bought cheaply because they were in a loud noise zone. They were just fine. But if they bring in the F-35 overnight, those homes will be, and this is according to the Air Force's own environmental assessment. It's published in it that it says that 8,000 people, 8,000 residences will be suddenly overnight declared to be in a zone that is incompatible with residential use. Now, this has already happened in the past, and this is just the next step with it. So it's not about have people moving into something because it's cheap and because it's close to the airport, and then the Davis Monthon Air Base, and then complaining about it. This is about people living in homes that are not close to the base, where they're not under the flight paths. They're not having problems with that. They didn't get it in a cheap price because of that, and suddenly, because the Air Force Base has decided to continue its expansion without the appropriate environmental impact statements, these people suddenly are going to have their homes completely devalued.
Well, let me add that a lot of the expensive homes in this town are also negatively impacted by this flight path, and that includes Sam Hughes, Broadmoor, Colonial Solana. Colonial Solana. Linda Ronstadt moved out of there because of the jets. These are families and places that predate the base.
What other cities have organizations like yourself that are complaining about expanding operations at existing
bases? Many
bases?
do. There are military installations all over the United States, and people that are actually affected by it.
Just give me one city I can go look up on the
internet. Albuquerque, for example, Taos, New Mexico. You can go to Peaceful Skies Coalition and see a whole list of the places. There are people in Elgin, Florida right now that are experiencing the F-35. They didn't know what they were getting into, and now the city's in a whole heap of trouble. The mayor is standing up against it.
Kat, thanks for the call, dear. Have a great day. 790-2040 is the number. Off air, I asked you, and I'll ask you again on air. We're a city that somewhere bounces between the 6th and 8th most impoverished city in America. Okay, we're rated as top 5 by CNN as one of the worst places to operate a business. All right, the poverty run rampant in this community, and economically we are a majorly stagnant community. So even if you did your magic wand, I think, which you have other missions at the base that could replace things with planes. All right, whether it's cyber terrorism, maintenance, whatever, that I think would drastically reduce the direct economic impact of the base. All right. So the question is, if you don't want this sort of thing that creates this kind of economic impact, I assume you're not big into copper mines either, right?
Well, let's not talk about copper mines. Let's talk about the base.
What do you want? What does Tucson? Is this community heading in the right?
Something that I noticed the other day in response to your question.
Is this community heading in the right direction economically? Yes or no?
I want to say that the base is, you keep saying the base has been here a long time, so why are we so impoverished if the base brings so much wealth to this area? Why are we such an impoverished city? And I've been noticing, I'm also a PhD.
There's many parts
I'm a PhD anthropologist, and I've been noticing that a lot of the blighted areas in this town where there is a lot of poverty is where a lot of the flight paths actually happen. And you look at south of Broadway, and it's trashed. People can't live under that kind of energy, and so we need to start looking at this not only in a numbers game, but also anthropologically, and see what is the effect of this.
Prince Road.
Not to mention
you might want to look at the who's in city council and what districts those are, too, and find out why they haven't taken care of anything for the past 30, 40, 50 years, too.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the problem.
The other thing is,
don't forget
not
the Air Force.
Don't forget
the rest of it's crumbling around it. It's not the Air Force's problem.
Don't forget they had to close some city water wells because of the pollution from Davis Monthon. I mean, this is a super fun site.
Back to the question. If this
all those affect us economically. They all affect us.
Are we on the right path economically as a region, yes or no?
No. And part of the reason that we're not is because we keep allowing Davis Monthon to expand and expand and expand without even taking into consideration truly what's going on with the environment.
And the cost to the city and taxpayer funds, the reduced property values. There's a lot of costs involved in this. Closing schools, closing Julia Keene. We're going to have to close hospitals and all kinds of churches.
Hold on. The schools are being closed because of the jet noise?
Yes. Julia Keene was closed as a direct reason for that. That was the whole reason.
You guys are funny.
Several schools.
790-2040 is the number.
Excuse me, are you questioning that's valid?
I would love to. They really closed the school because of
They absolutely did. Julia Keene.
Please email me whatever you got on that.
It was in 2003, wasn't it?
Hold on. TUSD has lost 11,000 students in the last 8-9 years. And that means there's about 400, 500 kids in a school, in a K through 6 primary education. So we should be shuttering dozens of schools. We've shut about 10.
This one was closed specifically and against the neighborhood's desire because of the overflights.
Send me that one. I got to see that one. Let's go to Ingrid.
I will do that.
Let's go to Ingrid on line 3. Ingrid, you're on with Kathleen and Lee. What's up, Ingrid?
Well, the longer you wait to get on the air, the more things come up.
Yeah, I know.
2 issues. Commerce follows the path of least resistance. I know a pilot who seems to think that if the landing strip were resituated, it might ameliorate the situation. I don't know about that. And the other thing, too, if these homes are really unfit for human habitation and the government is the cause, shouldn't the government condemn those residents and
buy them out?
Resituate the people?
They should, but they won't.
Well, then there's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys haven't gone that way yet.
Have you ever tried to sue City Hall?
And the federal government?
Well, you have to start somewhere.
I know.
Thank you. And send your donations to www.tucsonforward.com and help us along.
If the government creates a problem, then the government needs to take care of it.
That's true, but getting them to do is another matter.
Thanks for the call, dear. Have a great day. Let's go to Don on line 2. Don, you're on with Chris, Joe, Lee, and Kathleen. What's up, buddy?
Hi, everybody. I get the impression that I moved to a different city than the Tucson Ford representatives did. It sounds like they moved to a city where they wanted to move to a university community where things were really quiet, where you had the nice university environment, a great place to retire, like a Sun City, Tucson. I'm Army. I'm very proud of Tucson's military heritage. And if you go on Davis Monthon Air Force Base, you will find out that we were one of the cities that helped sponsor the Silver Cups that honored the Doolittle Raiders that were so heroic in World War II. I think it's very important to have a military culture here in the city of Tucson. And yes, unfortunately, ladies, loud noise comes with that. So I guess my question is, let's say the Air Force said, okay, it's the F-35 or nothing. We're going to be closing some more bases. It's the F-35 or nothing. What's your choice? Bring in the F-35 and deal with the noise, or close the base?
Well, the answer is it's the F-35 or Tucson, because Tucson's going to be trashed. So
that's
why
right.
don't you think about it from that perspective?
But that's really a simplistic way to look at it, because it's not boiling down to that. You don't have to close the base to keep from bringing F-35s here. And Tucson, Davis Monthon could do a lot of other things rather than expand their overhead missions.
But if we were in a BRAC situation and they said you had a choice, either embrace the F-35 or go down to basically a skeleton crew and do AMARC.
That's a false choice.
Why is it a false choice?
Because that's not the way it's going to work. They have all kinds of...
I understand that, fortune teller, but it's the idea...
Answer the question.
She didn't answer the question. The question is, in a BRAC situation, and they said to you, your choices were basically a reduced down...
But that's a big assumption. You're saying that and I'm saying that if isn't valid.
Do you think politically we have the juice to get any of this done? We have two senators who couldn't care if Tucson fell into a hole, and I got Ron Barber and Raul Grijalva who don't have any juice because they're in the wrong party, and Grijalva hates the military, so who's going to listen to those guys? So please tell me where the reality is.
Ron Barber has been supporting the base, and
he's a junior congressperson of the wrong party. Do you guys understand that? He has
it doesn't matter which party favors the base or favors the military.
The military's decisions on closing bases is made in the Pentagon. It's not made by senators.
Let's go pay some bills. We got to get some calls through for the ladies before it's all over. So Wake Up Tucson. I give you the number, but it's going to take all the time we got to do the calls. So we got Kathleen and Lee. We're talking about Davis Monthon Air Force Base. Wake Up Tucson.
Coming up at 8, the D. Simone Daily Double, right after Wake Up Tucson, here on AM 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
KVOI, The Voice.
Wake Up Tucson with Joe Higgins and Christy Simone on 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
All right. Well, one thing we all agree on, I think, the four of us, is we do disagree. We do not trust our federal government, so we're all there on that one. So, Ed Alexander, what do you got for me?
This ain't 5 minutes.
Oh, I know.
We're going to run out of time.
5 minutes, 4 calls. Let's go to Lori on line 4. Lori, what's up, woman?
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies. So my question is, and this, I'm glad that Chris actually asked it before. What other cities did Phoenix have a group like yours when the F-35 came to Phoenix?
Yes, but I haven't kept up with the recent activities in Phoenix, but I know that there were. And about 10 years ago, I was part of a group that started called Tucsonans for sound. What was it? Sound quality or sound solutions? Sound solutions or something. And we had a lot more. We had a lot more interchange with the people in Phoenix at that time. And I think that they actually started some lawsuits back then. But unfortunately, we haven't all been communicating with each other enough. Go ahead.
What is the population of Taos?
Taos?
Taos, New Mexico.
It's about 5,000 people, and actually,
and we're at what? A million in the
roughly,
in
almost.
County?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I have 2 kids, one in college, one graduating from high school. I've been here since 1959. I was born and raised here. So, ladies, if you don't like it, please go back to where you came and leave my city alone.
Where should we go, Taos?
Wherever you came from.
Well, Taos has ospreys flying in and out of its little municipal airport, so that's a problem too.
All right, we got to go to the next call. Lori, thanks for the call. 790-2040.
Let me just say, you know what? Tucson would suffer a far greater economic loss if people like me left this place. Far more so than if the soldiers and airmen left. I'll tell you that, because I've contributed a lot of money to this economy over the last 28 years.
There's more people leaving this local economy because there are no really future aspects for people as we move on here. I believe we're a community of shrinking private sector wealth, all right, and it's a really, really big problem. That's why a lot of people are worried about the reduction of the base, a direct impact, because there's not much here to begin with.
But what they need to think about is the reduction.
The base is only a 2.7% of the gross domestic product of Tucson.
So many good people are going to leave here.
The F-35 will totally destroy one of our major industries, which brings in twice as much as Davis Monthon, and that is the ecotourism and hospitality. That's going to be totally destroyed if the F-35
You're talking to
comes.
the wrong guy. I've been doing tourism in this town for 20 years, okay? And most of the people that come here are not affected. Where they go in Tucson is not affected by the Air Force or the flight lines. This has never come up. I'm meeting planners all the time from all over the world.
The F-35 is that loud. It will be, but no matter where they're
Marriott.
living.
I know that the folks out at the Marriott Star Pass are affected by the F-16s, and I hear people complaining out there. And I know people like at the Arizona Inn and the Central hotel areas here. They say
the U of A. There are
people
at the U of A, professors at the U of A that are complaining about it. It's Reed Park. Have you ever gone to Reed Park and tried to spend a nice quiet day? Forget it.
Himmel Park too.
Let's try
tennis there.
You expect to be strafed.
Let's try to do one more phone call. Yes, we'll be strafed while we're playing golf, playing tennis.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
strafed and
it feels exactly like that. Holy crap! Let's go to Charles on line 1. Charles, you're on with the ladies.
Hi, ladies. This is ladies thing.
Well, you're not ladies.
That was no lady. That was my lawyer.
Thank you very much. These
I'm
two
curious to know
people.
what study you've done of the economic impact of people who've moved to the base specifically for the sound. For instance, there's 2 other people on my block who are veterans. I'm not a veteran. But I specifically moved into the flight path of DM because I like the sound. And the more of it there is, frankly, to me, the better. And I'm not alone. Listen to the voice of the Apache Army veteran who called in. He likes that sound. What study have you done of economic impact of people who
Charles,
want
I got
that
20
sound?
seconds for them to answer. Go.
Right.
For the majority of people, that sound actually has very negative health effects. It increases blood pressure and all kinds of problems. And these are proven studies by the World Trade Organization.
Tucson Forward people, thank you for coming on. We'll have to do it again next month if you're up for it. All right? Wake up, Tucson, 10:30 The Voice.
Always look on the broad. At KBOI.com.